A few moments ago, the Democratic Party, the leaders, Nancy Pelosi, Jerry Nadler, Adam Schiff, spoke and they announced two articles of impeachment against Tribulation Trump, and that is one of abuse of power, and the second is obstruction of justice. So there's a lot to talk about here as we are looking at all of this, and I want to get started right away. So as we just stated, we just watched Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, and Jerry Nadler speak and announce the two articles of impeachment. And we're not surprised about what they announced, because as we watched the hearing yesterday, which was at sometimes complete chaos with yelling at one another and watching adults scream at one another and go back and forth, we are not surprised that they are pushing these two articles forward, as we know that abuse of power is certainly one that Tribulation Trump has done, and obstruction of justice. This is not the first time that we've witnessed him obstructing justice. We know that it also took place with the Mueller account. However, this impeachment is focused primarily on the Ukraine scandal, not the Mueller investigation, not even Russia, though those points were brought up yesterday during the hearing. And with the Ukraine scandal alone, there was much evidence that was brought forth yesterday. And I stated to you on yesterday that the defense was extremely poor in regards to Tribulation Trump. They did not refute any evidence, particular evidence that was brought up. They didn't try to refute the text messages, not the emails, not the phone conversations, to a clear extent. They made all kind of excuses, and and their focus was that the Democrats have always been trying to impeach Donald Trump since he was given the seat of presidency. They've tried since January of 2017, as they stated. But we didn't hear anything, no strong defense for Tribulation Trump. Now, I am not a lawyer, obviously, but I know that if you're going to defend someone, if someone makes an accusation about you and they pinpoint something specific in their accusation, giving details about that, I would think one of your ways of defense is to counter that particular evidence or counter that particular detail that the person has brought forth. We didn't see that yesterday. That was not done. Instead, they went another way. Instead, they went the way of pushing this narrative. Well, not really a narrative. Obviously, the Democrats don't like Tribulation Trump, and for good reasons, but that's what they focused on. They didn't focus on the substance. They focused on something else. And I find that to be the norm for Trump supporters. For Trump supporters in general, they never focus on the substance. Or if you state one thing about Tribulation Trump, I can say Tribulation Trump is a liar. And their counter to me is, but the economy is booming. I can say Tribulation Trump likes to grab women by their private parts, but their counter is, but he's created all of these jobs. And so they never go at the substance that is brought forth against Tribulation Trump, and the reasons why is because they can't. They know that it's true. They know that he's a liar. They know that he has done all of these things, so how could they dare say anything to you about those points when you bring them forth? And so that's what I witnessed yesterday. I saw all of the evidence brought forth against Tribulation Trump, but I didn't see anyone on the defense side speak of those things, refute those things in detail, in strong defense. I did not see that at all. Now, earlier I mentioned to you that if I could be a fly on the wall in the White House to see what Tribulation Trump was thinking as he was viewing Nancy Pelosi and his best friend Maxine Waters, who was standing in the background, Jerry Nadler, and Adam Schiff, I was wondering, what was he thinking? What is Tribulation Trump thinking as he is viewing this? We already know what Fox News is saying. We already know what they're going to push. And my answer, I received my answer, and that is, reports stated that as Tribulation Trump watch this, he and others in the administration want to push the trial as soon as possible. They want the Senate to start the trial as soon as possible, hopefully or preferably over the holidays. So over the Christmas holidays, Tribulation Trump and those who are working in this administration want the Senate to push this trial with the impeachment over the holidays. The problem is that the Republicans want to wait until January to actually start this trial. So whether or not they are going to cave in and adhere to their commander-in-chief in starting this trial over the Christmas holidays is a question that we would have to wait to see. Because again, the Republicans want this to start in January. And I can understand why Tribulation Trump wants this to start as soon as possible. You know, yesterday, one of the Democratic strategists made a prediction yesterday, and I think that it's important for you to hear as he makes the statements, keep in light of everything that we've just heard and so forth. And we have a clip to play for you, and I'll be back.
Democrats, they made their case. Do you think it's strong enough to actually sway American public opinion, or are the lines already just drawn in?
Well, both. It has swayed American public opinion. We've gone from 36% supporting impeachment and removal a few months ago to 50 now. And just put it in a context. Only 43% want him to stay. He got 46 in the election. So 6.5% of the people who voted for Trump now want him gone tomorrow, not in the next election, tomorrow. It's really astonishing that only 43% want the president to remain in office through his term. Now, will that drop further? I doubt it. Not very much, I think, left play in the joints. Going forward, if and when the courts do say Don McGahn has to testify, if the White House, the president, opposes a Supreme Court order to comply, I think that could change it dramatically. And this impeachment may be done by then. But you know what? Impeachment is not a single-shot weapon. The Constitution does not say it's a one-and-done deal. This is not the last impeachment we will cover, Donald J. Trump.
You would, Scott.
What?
I mean,
What?
Impeachment today.
You believe
impeachment tomorrow? Impeachment forever?
You actually
because it's criminality today, criminality tomorrow, criminality forever. The guy's a one-man crime wave.
After a certain point, doesn't it? Defeat the purpose. Doesn't it kind of have a
I think
losing
if he
value?
defies a Supreme Court order, it changes everything. I don't think 43 stick with him. Maybe 33. I don't know. But I don't know how many senators will back him up. Now, maybe the Supreme Court will rule for him. That's more Asha and Tubin's world. It's not mine. But if the Supreme Court says your aides have to testify about this criminal matter, and then he says no, didn't Andrew Jackson refuse a Supreme Court order? And nobody has since.
Andrew Jackson did.
In the Georgia
Mr. Marshall has
case.
made his ruling, let him enforce it.
Right.
In other words, he had no power to enforce it. But Richard Nixon in 1974 was told to turn over the tapes by the Supreme Court and did.
Right.
And was and that was the coup de grace. That was the end of impeachment.
So as you just heard stated, only 43% want Tribulation Trump to remain in office, and that's down from 46%. So 50% of the American people want him gone. They want him impeached. And so we know again that there are people who have jumped off the Trump train, but this 43%, I don't think they're going to move. I don't think they're going to budge. And we've stated time and time again that there are people who are going to stay with Tribulation Trump no matter what. So there's no sense of trying to talk to them. There's no sense of trying to reason with them. They are going to stay exactly where they are no matter what information is brought forth. Because again, these are the people who are strong in that the economy is booming and that he's provided so many jobs and so forth. And so they want him to stay as the president. So Andrew Jackson, being the first president to be impeached in the United States, was impeached in 1868. And then we go on to Clinton, who was also impeached in 1998. Now, here's the interesting thing about both of these presidents. As President or Tribulation Trump is the third president of the United States going through this impeachment process, the interesting thing about Andrew and Bill Clinton is that though they were impeached, though these two presidents were impeached, they were not removed from the House. And the reasons being is that when the trial went to Senate, the Senate then acquitted both. So though they were impeached, they remained in the House. Now with Tribulation Trump, and as you heard me mention earlier, he wants the Senate to start the trials as soon as possible and hoping that the Senate will acquit him, just as they did with Bill Clinton. And so if he is acquitted by the Senate, he also can remain in office. And so you heard this person who just spoke on this panel state that if and when Tribulation Trump is impeached, because there still can be an if, this still has to go to trial. This is still a process and is not done yet. And even if he is impeached, the process still takes time. As I told you with Andrew Jackson, the Senate said, no, you're wrong in 1830. But he was not impeached until 1868. And so even as we're watching all of this take place, will the Senate acquit Tribulation Trump? Or will they remove him from the House? Or, and here's a third alternative, here's a third thing that could happen, will Trump resign, just like Richard Nixon did? Will he resign once more information comes forth? Because I believe that more information will come forth. One thing about Tribulation Trump is this man cannot help himself. He really cannot help himself. He is beyond what I would call a narcissist. He is beyond what we call a narcissist. And so as we watch with Andrew Johnson, and I think I said Jackson earlier, but it's Andrew Johnson who was impeached, we will see whether or not the Senate will actually either acquit Tribulation Trump or they will state that he can stay in the House. And so as we don't know when they're going to begin the trials. Again, the Republicans want to start in January. He wants them to start over the Christmas holidays. Whatever takes place, we will await and see what happens. And so as we continue to watch Tribulation Trump and this mindset that he has that I will do everything my way, I can do whatever I want to do under Article 2, as he has stated many, many times, even now he is slamming FBI Director Christopher Wray, which, by the way, he appointed. He is still slamming the U.S. intelligence because Christopher Wray just put out a report that embraces what the IG founded, in that there was no criminal and there was no, the report that was sent out earlier by the FBI was justified. And so as he has embraced that in his report, Tribulation Trump is slamming him, even so far as sending out a tweet, because you know he likes to tweet. And in his tweet, Tribulation Trump states, I don't know what report current Director of FBI Christopher Wray was reading, but it sure wasn't the one given to me. With that kind of attitude, he will never be able to fix the FBI, which is badly broken despite having some of the greatest men and women working there. Now, the thing I find interesting about Tribulation Trump is, in the same breath that he tears down a person or persons, he then tries to put in some good works. So he'll say that it's broken, that it's torn down, though they have some of the greatest men and women working here. And so here we see again Tribulation Trump with this mindset of that anyone he feels that he appoints and puts into position, he expects them to be loyal to him. And if they are not loyal to him, he then feels like they are not doing what they need to do. He expects you to do everything in his favor, which is what he expects from Giuliani, which is what he expects from Bill Barr. And by the way, he's getting that from both persons. But anyone who speaks the truth, and by the way, Christopher Wray did say that there were some things that were not handled well during this investigation. He said that there was some misinformation during this investigation. So he admitted that truth. But he also admitted the truth that their investigation was justified, that there was nothing done wrong as far as Tribulation Trump concerned about them unfairly targeting the Trump campaign. But this is what we have seen with Tribulation Trump time and time again with persons. And so even in the midst of an impeachment, he's still slamming the U.S. intelligence. I mean, go figure. Can you figure the mindset of this man? Still slamming the U.S. intelligence, still going to foreign countries and asking them to push this conspiracy theory that Ukraine was actually the one who meddled into the 2016 election. It wasn't Russia, it was Ukraine. Still pushing all of these things despite the fact that he is going through this impeachment process. And so when I say that he can't help himself, he cannot help himself. And so going back to echo Adam Schiff as he spoke earlier and answering the question, why not wait? Why not wait for the witnesses, more witnesses to come forth and testify? 8 months it took before going back and forth from court to see whether or not Dan McGahn was going to testify. 8 months and nothing, because Tribulation Trump stated that, no, I don't want you to testify. Don't go forth. I will say this. He's the first president in history to have said no to every single subpoena that he was given. Tribulation Trump has said no to every single subpoena. The first president in our history to do that. And so, again, there is that mindset that I can do what I want to do. I don't have to listen to you. I can go against you if I want. And so as we witness all of this take place, why would you want to wait another day? We don't have time to wait another day for Tribulation Trump to do something else. And God knows, even between today and Christmas, he's going to do something else. I guarantee you, because he can't help himself. We already know he's going to lie. Now, how many lies he tells from now until Christmas is a whole nother story. But I guarantee you that Tribulation Trump is going to do something else. He's going to say something else. He's going to do something else. He's going to try to push another narrative, another story into the media, to the American people, because he cannot help himself. He just can't. He is beyond a narcissist. This man is incapable of caring or loving or thinking with reason. Everything has to be done his way, because his way in his mind is the only way, is the right way. And so again, as we continue to watch this, each day that goes on, God only knows what else we are going to endure with this president, this person who has been brought in as the illegal president by Russia, by the way. And just think about Putin sitting back and watching all of this take place. You talking about bringing in turmoil into the United States of America? He has done just that and so much more. Our democracy will never be the same again. 2020 is coming in a few weeks. We'll be going into a brand new year. And in 2020, we will have new elections. Now, in 2016, our elections were meddled with by Russia. In 2020, do you think it's going to be any different? If we have not done anything about what took place in 2016, and the so-called President of the United States is not putting consequences on the country that meddled in our democracy, then what do you think is going to take place in 2020? And so again, we are a complete laughingstock to the entire world as the world sits back and watch all the foreign leaders who are leaders of the various countries are sitting back and witnessing the President of the United States going through the impeachment process, and knowing the fact that 50% of the American people want him gone. They want him gone. This is extremely serious, and I tell my students downstairs all the time to pay attention to all of the news that is taking place, because you are witnessing at your young, tender ages, you are witnessing things in history as we watch Tribulation Trump and all that has taken place in the past 3 years and all that is going to come out of this impeachment process. I will remind you again that the Honorable James David Manning has stated that Tribulation Trump is going to commit suicide. Let me remind you about that, because I don't want you to forget that. The fact that all of this is taking place and more is going to happen and more light is going to be shed forth on things that we were unaware of, he has stated that he is going to commit suicide. And so it's important for us to continue to watch and observe everything that is taking place. Now, I asked a question earlier, what kind of Christmas is the United States of America going to have? If Trump could have it his way, he wants them to start the trial as soon as possible over the Christmas holidays. We will see. We will see just what takes place.
This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.